Alright guys, I've got the new control arms in here. These are made by Striker Off-Road Design. At least that's where I got them at. Anyway, they come look like pretty well packaged, wrapped up in cardboard there. They come with new grease zerks. They're greasable. Just at first glance, they look pretty decent. Most all these arms that I've seen are pretty similar. Get one of the new or old ones here. Let's see about the length difference. These are supposed to be a little longer. And they are about yay much. Let's line it up that way. Yeah, they're about half an inch at least. About what they're supposed to be. And then for the lower, kind of tell. Holes lined up there, and it's about the width of this hole longer. And I think that hole is probably about 9/16. So they're roughly half inch, 9/16 longer, something like that. Should be perfect. So I guess I'm gonna start, see if I can get these installed. All right guys, on this upper control arm here, you need to put a 90-degree grease zerk in here. The straight one that they got, you're not gonna be able to get to it. Looks like, best I can tell, it's gonna be best if it goes like this. So you can come in up in that pocket and put your grease gun on the fitting right there, and then this one needs to be pointed down. That's the way it looks. I'm putting anti-seize on the bolts that go through here, so hopefully they don't seize up inside of here, because the grease goes around the outside of the bushing here, so the inside of that bushing could seize to the bolt. So I'm putting anti-seize on the bolt, so hopefully we don't have that issue. I think I'm getting more on my hands and everything else than I am the bolt maybe, but that's what it's looking like so far. So you probably need to pick you up some grease zerks, because as I say, these straight ones, you're not going to be able to get to that. Side here, put on there, they're not tight or not greased or anything. Just stuck up there with the bolt started in them. Working on the other side over here, having a little bit of issue with getting them lined up. The front end is swung forward here, so just put this come along on here so I can pull this axle backwards and try to get it lined up there. We're a couple of inches off still. You can't really see this top one too well. I know you can't see that on the camera. That's really, really close. That's gonna be it right there. So let me get some anti-seize on that bolt. We'll get it stuck in there. We'll get the bottom one lined up, and we'll be good on that. All we like is grease them and tighten them. All right, guys, I've got everything tight except for the bottom bolt on the lower control arm at the axle side on both sides. That's where you set your caster at. And we're just doing a rough guess on this. If I set my phone up here, I got an angle meter on my phone. We got about 174 degrees on top of that ball joint right there. And if I set this on the running board, we got 179 degrees right there. So that's 5 degrees positive caster, which is pretty much spot on what you want on one of these trucks. That's not the most accurate way to set caster, but that's what I'm using right now at home, what I got to work with. And I've got plenty more adjustment right there, as you see. That's got the axle pulled all the way back, the way that bolt's set. So if I turn it the opposite way, it'll push the bottom of this axle forward, which will give me more positive caster, which probably up to about 8 degrees or so, I'm guessing, 8 or 9 maybe. Not exactly sure how much adjustment that will give. But I'm gonna snug them down right there, same on both sides, and we'll try that, and I'll make further adjustments as necessary, if any is necessary. You see the spacing on the coils here are a little closer together than what the OEMs were. Compressed looks like to me, but it's supposed to be a better ride. I'm gonna go ahead and get those snug down, and then I got to snug up my jam nuts on my track bar there. I need to measure that and make sure that I do have it. If I find me a point on the center axle, maybe the grease zerk here to the frame at some point, and make sure I don't need to fine tune that. But I think it's really close and we should be good on that. All right, so probably a good idea to put a 90-degree grease zerk on this spot right here, up under here, the bottom of this upper control arm, pointing back this way, the opposite of what we did this way, where this one's up in here pointing back this direction. You can get to them if you don't have a grease zerk that's 90 degree. You can use a 90-degree fitting on a grease gun and just use the straight fitting and the 90-degree fitting on the grease gun and get to it. That's what I did on this one because I didn't know I needed to put a 90-degree fitting in there, but either way, it's gonna work. I probably won't grease them too often anyway, knowing me. So anyway, I think that's gonna work from now. The track bar, I measured from right here to the center of this grease zerk on the top of the ball joint on each side, and I was within about 1/8 of an inch where I had it set, so I just twisted the adjustment just a little bit and got it where it's reading the same. I'm going to snug that down, and then everything should be good to go on that end. I've got to paint these wheels over here, let them dry while the weather, I've got a couple hours, the weather here is cooperating with me. I bead blasted these somewhat, didn't do the best job. I'm sure there's a couple spots that I missed that may be still shiny. I watched a few YouTube videos on how to paint chrome, and they got some stuff over there called Bulldog Adhesion Promoter. I'm gonna lightly spray on these, and then I have some black acrylic enamel automotive paint, single stage paint that I'm gonna spray these with. I decided not to break them down. I just taped them off this way. That's not the best way to do things, but that's the way I'm gonna do it. If it doesn't turn out, it doesn't turn out. It's not the biggest deal in the world. These wheels are probably 10, 11 years old, and they're pitted up, so anything that we do to it is going to improve it drastically anyway. So this is the Bulldog adhesive promoter that I purchased. Basically, it's supposed to make paint stick to tough surfaces that paint don't really adhere to very well. That way, if there's a shiny spot on this wheel that I miss with the bead blaster, that maybe it'll keep the stuff from peeling off. So we're gonna see how it does here, and then we go right over the top of this with our paint. All right, so I've got the center caps painted. I've got the wheels painted. I'm not sure that it's the best paint job in the world, but it's gonna look good from 10 foot. Right by the time I got through spraying them, I had the door open to let the fumes out here, and big gust of wind come through, and it's got dirt in the paint now. And so I pulled the door down, and now it's raining. So not the best weather to paint in. I knew it was supposed to storm this afternoon. I had a couple hour window here. While it was warm, supposed to be a cold front coming in after this. It's supposed to get cool, so trying to take advantage of the couple hour window I had to get the thing sprayed. But it'll look okay from 10 foot, and they're gonna get scratched up anyway. It's a 4-wheel drive truck. All right, guys, there it is, all back together. I went and took it for a little trip, just a couple miles down the road. It does ride a whole lot better. But it feels like it's a little bit more floaty. Like you can tell, it ain't got a sway bar now with that softer swing rate, spring rate. If you know, rock the wheel side to side while you're driving, you can feel the body roll a whole lot more than you could with the factory spring. So I don't know if I'll get a sway bar and put back on it or not. I'm gonna drive it a little more and see how I like it. I definitely got more room between the tire and the fender here with the longer control arms, and it's setting about 3/4 of an inch higher in the front than it was based off of my measurements with the tape measure. So we're sitting almost level. The back of the truck is a 1/2 inch higher than the front at the fender, where it was 1.5 inches, something like that. So I guess well, almost about a full inch higher, I guess is what that would be. Somewhere between 3/4 and a full inch higher in the front than it was. So I may raise the back up just a touch. I got an inch block in it now. May put 1.5 inch block in it. I'm not sure. I'm gonna drive it around like this, see how I like it. Might make some changes. Right now I got a water pump that's leaking, and that's something else I'm gonna have to address. I don't know if you see it dripping under there, but I got a new water pump and a new belt over here in a box. So that's the next thing I'm gonna tackle, is getting that put on. So I'm gonna wrap this video up. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.